Good afternoon. My name is Allison McKenzie, and I am the chair of the Historic Conservation Board. I would like to take a minute to remind everyone about the rules of this proceeding. This proceeding is at all times governed by the rules of procedure adopted by the board on September 26, 2011, last amended on March 9, 2020. A copy of the rules of procedure is available for review in the back of the room and online. All those planning to testify today, which does not include those solely making arguments such as attorneys, should please stand now and take an oath administered by the board's attorney.
Yeah. So anyone that wants to participate in any of the hearings, if you could just stand, please raise your right hand. Leave it answer out loud. You swear or affirm that the testimony you shall provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
This is a quasi-judicial hearing. As such, the board reserves the right to deliberate in private. The Ohio rules of evidence do not apply to this hearing. However, professional rules of conduct do apply, and candor to the tribunal is required. The board members are citizen volunteers and are not paid for their service. They are treated as public officials under Ohio law. Any attempt to influence them, including but not limited to bribery, intimidation, retaliation, which may include contacting their employer in an attempt to exert influence, is punishable as a crime. All should be aware that this meeting is being recorded. Therefore, before you begin your comments, please state your name and address for the record. With that said, let's proceed with the first item. Mr. Owen?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 1 today is an application for a certificate of appropriateness for 2035 Vine Street. This is an existing building built on a lot that stretches between Vine Street and Ohio Avenue, right at the bend in Vine Street. So the front of the building will remain the same as it is today. There's no new work proposed other than some general repair work. The rear building historically had an addition along Ohio Avenue, but it collapsed or was demolished at some point in the past, at least prior to 2001, and it has remained in a similar state as you can see on this picture since that point. So the applicant is the owner of the building, and he does plan to build a new addition on the footprint of the old addition on this rear portion of the lot fronting Ohio Avenue. The building will be used for an office on the Vine Street side, as well as residential uses on the remainder of the building. So the addition itself will be a 3-story addition that will be built nearly to the street frontage. It does have a slight setback as the building, a lot is not directly square at Ohio Avenue. It does kind of have an angle to it. So the applicant's proposing the first floor to be straight along the building edge with a projecting bay on the 2nd and 3rd floors that would follow the property line. The roof of that would follow with the configuration of that floor plan. So you can see on the elevations on the rear, this will be a 3-story building with a roof deck on the 4th floor, including the access enclosure that allows access to that deck. The building will be clad in brick siding. For the most part, it will have wood siding on the projecting bays along the front, as well as wood siding on the rear of that building facing towards Vine Street. So staff does feel that this addition does substantially conform with the guidelines. It is 3 stories in height, which the existing adjacent building is 2 stories that has an unsympathetic roof dormer that was added. So we don't typically count that roof dormer towards that building's height. But the facade height is 2 stories. With the 3-story addition that's proposed, it does have lower ceiling heights, so it ends up being fairly similar in height to the adjacent building. So staff does feel that it complies with the height regulations. It is 3 stories on the front as well. So while this will be taller than the building in its ASL numbers, this portion of the addition will not be visible from in front of the building. Vine Street because of because of the location of that existing building. So staff does feel that this meets the intent of the guidelines and it does fit contextually on the street. So we do recommend the Historic Conservation Board take the following actions based on plans by IDACS Incorporated dated 4/1/2024. Approve the certificate of appropriateness for 2035 Vine Street with the following conditions. This specific brick shall be a historic or modular dimension, 1 full width and depth, to be approved by staff prior to the issuance of building permits. 2, the specific window models shall be subject to staff approval prior to the issuance of building permits. And 3, the building permits must be issued within 2 years of the decision date or the COA shall expire.
Thank you, Mr. Owen. I do have, it looks like Wayne Fan signed up. If you'd like to come forward and add anything. Okay. Let's see, I also have Kim Taylor signed up for this item.
He was just misunderstood.
Okay. Does the board have any questions for the applicant or staff? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness is laid out by staff.
Second.
Call the roll. Mr. Zelasco?
Aye.
Mr. Sunderman?
Aye.
Ms. Smith-Dobbins?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Congratulations, your item has been approved. Mr. Owen, I believe that item 2 has been asked for continuance, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, then we will proceed with item 3.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 3 is an application for the certificate of appropriateness as well as zoning relief for 538 through 540 Liberty Hill, as well as 539 Corporation Alley. These buildings are currently on 2 separate lots, with 538 on a lot on its own. And then 540 Liberty Hill, as well as 539 Corporation Alley on a separate lot with those 2 buildings on the same lot. So the applicant is proposing to demolish the existing building at 540 Liberty Hill and retain the existing building on 539, which will be split off onto a separate lot to create a lot for just that building. And then the remainder of that lot for 540 will be combined with 538 Liberty Hill to create a single lot where there will be an addition built to the east of the existing building at 538, and a similar footprint to the existing building that is there now on 540. So as part of this lot split to create its own separate parcel for 539, there is zoning relief that is involved in that. Firstly, there is a dimensional variance for the lot frontage. So the zoning code requires 21 feet of lot frontage or 21 feet of street width to be considered lot frontage for a buildable lot. So Corporation Alley is 20 feet, so it is 1 foot short of that 21-foot requirement. So in order to create a separate lot for 539 Corporation Alley that would front on Corporation, they do need zoning relief for that 1 foot of street width to make that a buildable lot. In addition to that, there is a hillside review that is required for the proposed 0-foot west side yard setback short of the 2.5 feet that's required, as well as a hillside review for the rear setback, which will be 14.58 feet, which is short of the 20 feet that's required. So aside from the zoning relief, the demolition proposal is for the building at 540 Liberty Hill, which is the wood frame building on the east side of this site. It is currently in a deteriorated condition. It has asbestos siding covering the original wood siding. And it does have several unsympathetic alterations that have been made over the years, including the dormer window on the roof, altered window and door openings on the primary facade, and the addition of the wood frame porch on the front of the building. So the applicant did submit an economic viability argument for the demolition of the building that claims that the building is not economically viable for rehabilitation. Staff did review that information and also forwarded it on to the Department of Community and Economic Development that did their independent analysis on that information to determine if they agreed that the building is not economically viable. So the Department of Community and Economic Development did find that while there could potentially be a return on investment when factoring in tax abatements and historic tax credits, that return on investment would be minimal, and in their opinion, it constituted an economic hardship on the property, and they determined that it would not be a reasonable return on investment that would allow this building to be rehabilitated. So essentially, economic development did agree that the project would not be economically viable without the granting of the demolition. So with that analysis showing that minimal return on investment combined with the existing condition of the building and the unsympathetic alterations that have been made to it over the years, staff does find that it substantially meets the demolition requirements for historic structures and that it would be appropriate for the demolition of that building. So in addition, or following the demolition of that building, the applicant is proposing in addition to 538 Liberty Hill that would expand the living space indoor and outdoor for that property. So from a certificate of appropriateness standpoint, on the addition itself, staff does feel that it substantially conforms with the conservation guidelines for the district. Specifically, the massing and siting and height of the building comply. The addition is built on the side of the building. It is set back from the streets further than the existing building to ensure that that building will be the more prominent view on the street. And that setback is in context with the surrounding district where most of the properties do have some setback from the street and are built into the hillside with retaining walls and landscaped areas in front. So staff does feel that this proposed siding and massing of the building does substantially comply. As far as the materials that are proposed for the building, staff also feels that these are appropriate. There is a vertical wood siding proposed for all sides of the building. He will mark the top of that building by transitioning to vertical wood siding that will have a bit of a shadow line there to create that modern interpretation of a cornice. And then the hyphen or the connection between that addition and the original building will also have that vertical siding the horizontal siding instead of the vertical. And it will be set back further from the street than the addition itself to be more sympathetic with as a connection for an addition to an existing historic building. So essentially, staff feels that the proposed addition, while it is fairly minimal in ornamentation and detailing, it does comply with the conservation guidelines as a contemporary but compatible addition to an existing historic building. Other changes on the site primarily consist of an alteration to the existing roof deck on this building. So there is a roof deck that is currently present on the building. but it has a very low profile that has a very low ceiling height where it exits onto the roof deck. So to get that up to a compliant height, the applicant would like to add a dormer addition. You can see it on the rendering here, it will be set back within that front roof slope area. It won't be visible from directly in front of the building, but because of the setbacks and the topography here, looking from an angle at the building, it will be minimally visible, but staff feels that that is acceptable and appropriate and meets the guidelines, as that view from the front of the building directly will not show the dormer. Other work on the buildings, the building on the rear, 539 Corporation, as well as 538 Liberty, these will be renovated extensively on the interior and exterior. However, the exterior alterations to both of these buildings are all in keeping with the guidelines. There will not be any other additions built on the building, and they will be retaining all of their existing character defining features like the cornice, the windows, sills and hoods, and things along those lines. Staff's only concern is that there is a request to use casement windows on the existing window openings on the side and the rear of 538 Liberty Hill. However, the guidelines do clearly state that existing windows that are replaced should be double hung. While the double hung windows are proposed on the front elevation, they are not on the side and the rear. So staff would recommend the use of the double hung windows throughout the existing historic buildings as a condition of approval. The site work on the site primarily consists of rebuilding an existing retaining wall at the back of the property that is failing and unreinforced, so that will be rebuilt and faced with stone. And the existing stair to access 540 Liberty, there is a gap in the retaining wall at the front that allows access for that stair that goes up to the house. With the demolition of that house and this being used as a single family dwelling, that extra stair would no longer be needed. So he is proposing infilling the gap in that retaining wall with stone that would match the surrounding wall. There will be fencing on the property, which will primarily consist of a contemporary metal fence along the building frontage and wrapping around the corner until it is even with the front facade of the main house. At which point it will transition to a 6-foot wood privacy fence. So staff feels that that is appropriate. The fence is a contemporary but compatible take on a historic metal fence that would commonly be found in the neighborhood. And the privacy fence is along the side of the property. It will not be highly visible from the front street. It will replace an existing chain link fence, and it will provide privacy and security from the public steps that ascend the hill immediately adjacent to the property. So staff feels generally that the project as a whole does comply with the conservation guidelines, and staff would recommend the board take the following actions based on plans by Michael Rogobin, design dated 7/3/24. Approve a dimensional variance of 1 foot with the required 21-foot street width required for lot frontage. Approve a hillside review for the 0-foot west side yard setback, and approve a hillside review for the proposed 14.58-foot rear yard setback. Staff also recommends approval of the certificate of appropriateness for 538 to 540 Liberty Hill, including any revisions submitted for permit subject to staff review and approval, with the following conditions. 1, all replacement windows on the existing building shall be double hung windows, and 2, the building permits must be issued within 2 years of the decision date or the COA shall expire.
Thank you. Mr. Rogovin, and any other applicants or owners, would you like to come forward and add anything?
I'm Mr. Rogovin, Michael Rogovin. I have nothing to add. I think you did a pretty good job. It's a complicated project because of the 3 buildings and the layers of things that have to happen, including the parcel shifts, the setbacks, and the demolition. But I think you covered it fairly well. I would be fine with transitioning existing windows to double hungs.
Outside of Mr. Beck signed up. Donald Beck,
No.
did you want to add anything?
Yes.
Okay, please come forward. Were you sworn in at the beginning?
Pardon?
Were you sworn in?
I was. Mhm.
Okay, great. Please add what you would like to tell us.
My name is Donald Beck. I live at 550 Liberty Hill, which is just up the street from the property. I've lived there for 53 years. And so I've seen a lot of change in the neighborhood, including change that I've created with my projects, which I'm an architect. So I've done a lot of projects in the neighborhood, mostly for other people. I think that in general, I'm very happy about this project. This property has been in particular need of attention for a long time. And I think that the demolition is warranted, even though we generally wrote the guidelines and supported the historic district to stop demolition. In this case, I think it's warranted. I think that I'm in favor of the separation of the properties in order to allow the 3 or 2 units to occur. And I'm in favor generally of the construction of the addition. My comments are about the addition, things that I would like to see addressed that I think need a little more attention. Primarily, the lack of detail on the building. Even though contemporary is fine, there's no suggestion at all of lintels or sills or a water table or hardly any suggestion of a cornice. And I think that given the detail of the building surrounding this, it sticks out like a sore thumb and not, I think it's a detriment to the neighborhood, mainly because it's so visible. This, as you can see in this picture, the side of this building, it's not just the front, it's the side, is extremely visible. And it sits up on a hill, so it's not camouflaged by a building close to it, as most of the row houses are in the neighborhood. I also, as mentioned, I object to the windows, and I think I heard correctly that the staff is suggesting that the windows be double hung. Was that for the side of the building as well as the front?
That is for the original building, not the addition.
Well, I think that this looks like a burned out shell with that kind of a undetailed window, particularly when it is placed so near the front face, the exterior face of the building. There's no depth to the window openings at all. And I think
Little leeway, but if you could start to wrap it up, we've got a 2-minute public comment.
yeah, the last thing that I would comment on is the vertical direction of the siding, which is used, siding is used vertically historically, but not generally on a 2-story building and a narrow 2-story building. The traditional direction is horizontal, and that would help the proportion of this building, in my opinion. So thank you for your time.
I apologize, board. It's a Monday and I'm a little out of order. I didn't ask if you had any questions or comments for the applicant or staff before going to public comment. Yes, Mr. Sunderman?
I have a question. The addition, it appeared as though it has an entrance and an exit door. Entrance on the front and exit door on the back. But it is going to all be considered part of the one house. It would not be used as a renter or something like that.
Should I answer the question?
I mean, I believe that is correct. You can fill in any detail, but it is going to be used as a single family.
Yes. So it just has additional doors that would be likely used more often than the originals. But it's all meant to be one continuous space, as you can see in this first level. And then the second level, that's just the bedroom for one of the bedrooms for the second floor.
So there's another property that's not indicated on there that runs right in between the addition and the, are we missing a property line or am I misreading it?
So this is after property consolidation. So currently there is a property line that runs between 540 Liberty Hill and 538 that runs perfectly between Liberty Hill and Corporation Alley. And that in order to do the addition, I would need to modify that property line so that the building doesn't stretch over top of two.
So, I'm sorry, say that again?
In order to complete the addition, I would need to modify the property line so that the addition doesn't sit on a different property. And it also allows for each building to be on its own parcel.
Is it indicated up there someplace?
It is,
Right there?
So
Okay,
this is the proposed,
so that's the new little lot right there.
and then these two would all be one lot.
Thank you.
I'm sitting here somewhat chastising myself because I usually go and look at these properties. And I didn't have an opportunity to do that. I tend to agree with the other commentator that is very much out of character with the surrounding buildings. Now, maybe there's a reason why that is the way it is, besides just being cheaper. But
Well, I agree with you. It does kind of stick out like a sore thumb.
yeah,
personally, I think it does the opposite in that it recedes as a contrasting addition that's much simpler than the original building. I personally like this style of addition as it honors the history of the main building and doesn't try to compete with it, but it certainly is a different approach than we typically see that are more replicative of historic conditions.
I agree on the gap that's there, and I did look at the property this morning, and it does look pretty rough.
I think there's no question something should be in there. I don't question that for an instant. But my question is whether or not it should be that.
We do have a couple other people signed up. I believe one might be an owner representative. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell from this. I just want to make sure I've given everyone who wanted to speak an opportunity to do so. We also had a Sandy Wright signed up.
It was a mistake.
Okay, we also have an Allison Taylor signed up.
I don't need to speak. Thank you.
Okay, so I think that's everyone I had signed up. Is anyone else hoping to speak on this issue? Mr. Beck, we've already heard from you. Did you have something very specific to?
Yes, I forgot to mention that I have a real problem with the front deck. We've specifically bought decks that are visible in the neighborhood, and there are ways of having a porch or an exterior area that don't look so much like a wood deck.
Okay, thank you. I believe that is everyone we have signed up. Are there any additional questions or comments?
I think I have an issue with the windows in the deck as well. but I'd kind of like to see it come back, if the client would like to.
Yeah, the windows are bothering me.
There's something about the fact that you're requiring double hung on the original, but not kind of keeping that pattern going for the addition.
May I comment?
Yes.
Um,
Can you come up to the table?
Yes, certainly. So the choice for the windows there, we're one, to give that contrast so that the addition is distinct from the original. I think this will especially read if all the original building windows are replaced with double hungs as is required, and I'm fine with agreeing with. So that in part allows it to read as separate. The design and the intent behind why it is what it looks like and simple as it is so that it does have a clear distinction between the historic building and it. So that it will be read as a new building and not mistaken as an old building that happens to be there. My intent was to try to keep that clarity as much as possible. That's also why it is set back from the front, again, to let the historic building read as the primary building. And the windows, although it doesn't appear, it's hard to see in this render just because of the limitations of render. What I will be ultimately proposing as far as the detail thing will be some exterior insulation as part of the wall assembly, which will actually give a decent amount of depth to the windows. So they will be set back probably 4 or 5 inches from the final surface of the wood facade that's proposed. So there will be some additional depth that just may not quite reach the wood film.
Well, just reading the room, I can't necessarily predict the motion, but I think we have 2 options. We could entertain a motion that may be for denial, or we could offer a continuance if that would be of interest, if that is the motion. Do you have a thought on the continuance? Would that be desirable over an up-down vote?
Should the up-down vote go negative, am I still able to get a continuance at that point?
You would have to reapply, is my understanding.
Right, so then it would start the process over again, and there would have to be substantial changes to the plans. So it would be another at least 2 months before you can get back.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, Jed. I appreciate what you're trying to accomplish. You know, the building stands alone. I mean, there's no mistake about that. And for me, bringing the deck and the windows into closer compliance with the norm, I think gives it a little touch, maybe makes it a little easier for the board to approve something that is pushing the guidelines a little bit.
Is there going to be a rooftop deck in that addition?
No.
Okay,
There is an existing rooftop deck on the original
I
building.
understand that, yeah.
But the new roof, I was planning to put some solar on, but that would be about it.
Oh, okay.
That would not be visible from anywhere.
You look at other options on that front, so it doesn't look like a front porch, just a,
I tried, so the front porch is more of a result of the fact of the height difference between the buildings and managing the topography.
Sure.
So if you look, the original building is already like 3.5 feet or so off the ground. So this was my solution to find a means to get up there. And it really just resulted from managing the topography.
I'd like to have you look at that a little more personally.
And so you're going to have 2 entrance doorways with a few feet of material in between them. Is that the deal? Put up that other pic, the frontal.
Well, one is set quite a bit further back.
Okay, but that's a front door, and F is a front door.
So my intent was that I would really not be regularly using the original front door of the building, and I'd like to transition more to using the one on the addition. Just with the layout of the space, that's where I'd like people to enter. But since it is an existing door, I've opted to keep it there so that it remains as it did. But it's just one that I wasn't planning to use as part of the circulation of the space.
That does seem odd.
Again, I can't predict an up-down vote, but I don't believe this would pass as it is currently designed. Would anyone else like to offer any feedback that would help you get closer to it if we were to send this back for some additional consideration?
Well, if the windows were set back a little bit more on the windows that were on the side, it looked like they were set back, but the ones in the front didn't. And so that just didn't sit, it just didn't look right.
They would all be equally set back. It's, I think, just
So it's just hard to see from this rendering that they would be, because it's,
the shadows. So they would all be at least sort of 4 inches within the wall. I didn't have any light on the interior of the building, so they look extra dark, so it's hard to read the frame versus the window there.
It's really tough to tell. And I think maybe the side might be the best example of whatever your intended depth looks like there.
Yeah, that shows a fair amount of depth. You know, I don't mean to be flippant, but I'm sitting here thinking to myself, if I'm the pizza delivery guy and I go to deliver your pizza, how am I gonna know which door to go to?
If I go to the wrong one, it's still a functional door, so it's not a problem for me.
It's just a way to have a living room, mostly living room, and not have an entry right into the space that's used as often.
Could you put the plan back up there, Doug?
Which plan? The
First
floor plan or the?
First floor, yeah.
I'll kick things off. I'll make a motion to deny the zoning relief and the certificate of appropriateness.
Can I still take the continuation of
Yeah.
Yes, please.
So essentially what the continuance will do is just put the process in pause, allow you to respond to some of the things you've heard today from the board members and come back with revised drawings or updated drawings if you would like. And then we come back in front of the new hearing date. And we come back in front of the board and then they review those, make a determination based on the updated plans. Again, the other option is to put it to a vote now and see how it comes out. But if it comes out as denial, then you'll have to start the process from scratch.
I'll take the continuation.
Work with staff on what agenda you can get back on. Are there any other questions for the board that would be helpful for you in preparing your resubmission?
Just as a summary, it sounds like the biggest issues are really with the window, the deck. I think that those are the primary two ones, it seems like.
Can I ask a clarification question on the deck? Is it the railing that provides that visibility that concerns you the most about that deck?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we need to make a motion?
It looks like a front porch.
That's true.
Make a motion to continue this application or find a term,
We don't have to define a term.
just a continuous application.
Second. I'll call the roll. Mr. Zalesko?
That's the table.
A continuance.
Aye.
Mr. Sunderman?
Aye.
Mr. Dobbins?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Hopefully that was somewhat helpful in how to modify, come back to us. Thank you. Item 4.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 4 is the continuation of 2443 Auburn Avenue. This is a request for a certificate of appropriateness as well as zoning relief related to the new infill development at the corner of Auburn and East McMillan. At the previous hearing, or 2 hearings ago, the board had voiced concerns about the proposed, several elements of the proposed building, including the lack of detailing on the building facades, the amount of siding, the appearance and the longevity of the proposed vinyl windows, and generally massing and height. So the applicants have gone through the submission and made some substantial changes and resubmitted for consideration. So you can see on the screen how they have tried to address some of those concerns, the original at the top and the new proposed submission at the bottom. So the primary changes include additional detailing on the formerly large blank brick wall, alterations to the cornice line to make it more prominent, and changes to the window pattern and ornamentation, as well as additional detailing to the ground floor and changes to the retaining walls to use a different colored brick to set those apart. So staff does feel that the proposed changes have substantially improved the building and brought it much closer to compliance with the guidelines. The brick texturing that is provided on the corner provides a good amount of ornamentation with a sort of modern detailing. It takes the coins on the side of the building that are recessed on the north elevation, wrapping the corner, they project on the east elevation, and that projection continues about halfway through that portion of the wall, with the projection gradually receding as it gets towards the center. You can see also on the ground floor, there is a brick projection element all along that ground floor level that provides some differentiation to the ground floor and provides a more solid base. The change in the landscape walls to the different color also provides some help to, provide that differentiation on the base. The brick detailing below the windows on the north elevation has been altered slightly with that recessed treatment similar to the coins on the corner. The window detailing has been broken up, whereas before it was very repetitious with all of these inset panels along the entire length of that facade until that blank portion of the brick wall. That has been broken up so that those panels are only provided on the grouped windows, with the other windows not having that inset detailing, which in staff's opinion does help to break up that facade, and it also provides more of a vertical emphasis on the building. So staff is in favor of that change as well. And then finally, the cornice detailing is stronger with 6 vertical courses of brick and then a projecting coating at the very top. So staff is in favor of all the changes that have been made. The one concern that staff still has is with the vinyl windows that are still proposed for the building. The applicant provided this window comparison with some of the other approvable windows compared to the vinyl window, showing that the daylight opening will be a similar size to other approved windows. However, they have not really addressed the longevity concern or the fact that it does still have a significantly different profile from a historic window. So staff does continue to have concerns with the vinyl windows, and ultimately is not comfortable making a recommendation for approval of those windows. So, but otherwise, staff does feel that the project does substantially conform to the guidelines and has no issues with any of the zoning relief. So staff does recommend that the board take the following actions based on plans by GBBN dated 8/19/2024. Approve the conditional use for the ground floor residential units. Approve the dimensional variance of 31 feet for the proposed 3-foot front yard setback. Approve a dimensional variance of 20.5 feet for the proposed 5.5 foot west side yard setback. Approve a dimensional variance of 16.08 feet for a proposed 9.92 foot east side yard setback. Approve a dimensional variance of 7.08 feet for the proposed 12.92 foot total side yard setback. Approve the dimensional variance of 0.66 for the proposed floor area ratio of 2.76. Staff also recommends approval of the certificate of appropriateness for 2443 Auburn Avenue with the following conditions. That the proposed vinyl windows shall be changed to a window of wood, fiberglass, or other appropriate material as approved by staff prior to the issuance of building permits, and that parking lot landscaping shall be subject to approval by staff prior to the issuance of the building permits. And just to add, I did not mention much about the parking lot landscaping, and that is, I don't have a site plan with the, yeah, here we go. Okay, so the parking lot landscaping is essentially where the parking lot abuts the street without an access drive. Landscaping is encouraged to provide a buffer from that. So some low-level landscape plantings along here that would help to block the headlights of any vehicles would be what I would be looking for in any kind of final submittal. Also, I did not address the EFS siding. So essentially, you can see the original proposal here with the pink line being brick. EFS was at the dotted area. So they have extended that brick all the way around the corner, wrapping the majority of the building. This rear southern wing would still be clad in EFS as well as the courtyard. So staff feels that that is a good compromise. Essentially, while EFS is not a great material for historic district generally, at this limited location on the back side of the building, it will have limited visibility. It won't have any visibility from within the boundaries of the district. It will be visible currently from East McMillan. However, with this lot being proposed for redevelopment in the near future, it is the hope that, you know, some substantial height would be placed on that building with screen small section on the back of the building.
I believe we have several applicants signed up. If you would like to come forward, if you're an applicant to add anything that you'd like, please.
Good afternoon, I'm Kathy Ryan here on behalf of Uptown Properties, and I have with me Adam Fosnaugh, who will present additional information on our latest update.
Thank you. What would you like to share?
Good afternoon. Thanks for having us back. My name is Adam Fosnaugh. I'm a principal at GBBN. I think Mr. Owen addressed in pretty good detail most of the revisions we've made to the design. I think that it's probably addressed all of the comments that we kind of talked through last time. So if there are any questions pertaining to revisions from a massing or material standpoint or a detailing standpoint, I'm happy to address those. I think the big comment still is the use of the vinyl windows. So maybe I'll start with that. And then if there's any other additional kind of thoughts, I can get into that. But I think vinyl, though not typically approved in historic districts, I think is, I think there's a certain specific reasons why it's appropriate for this project. We addressed them a little bit last time, but in a little more detail, I can get into that. The first is from a sustainability standpoint. This project has really lofty sustainability goals. We're trying to get to an improvement over 50% of energy reduction across the entire building. So we have PV panels on the roof. We have really good wall assembly with thick continuous exterior insulation. We have high performing mechanical systems. We have high performing glass. And then the vinyl window is the last piece. And so Doug, if you want to pull up that last slide. Yep. So we engaged Donovan Energy as a consultant for this. They're working out with us on some of our energy goals, and we took a look at this vinyl window, which is what's shown on the left, and we revisited a number of other windows that GBBN has used over the last 5 years or so that have been approved in historic districts. So starting on the left, this is the vinyl window that I have here. Second from left is a fiberglass window. It's a Marvin series. We used at all of the Wilkeman projects, so four projects in OTR. We have used an aluminum window, and this one was a Crystal 2000 series, which we used at 1301 Walnut. We're also using a very similar window right now at Logan Street, which is currently under construction. And then a wood clad window, which we also used at 1301 Walnut. So the first thing from a kind of visual standpoint and just looking at what the profile of the window is, the vinyl window that we have here is actually has a narrower sight line than all of those products. You can see they range from 2 1/4 at the slimmest up to almost 3 inches at the aluminum. So from that aspect, we really like what this particular window is bringing to the table. From a cost perspective, the vinyl is a good cost benefit analysis based on performance and then based on initial cost. So you can see kind of the dollar values. The vinyl and the fiberglass are somewhat similar. The fiberglass represents a premium probably to this project of $150,000. And then the aluminum window and the wood clad window obviously get more expensive, quite a bit more expensive with the wood clad. And then what it means for the actual performance of the project, we put this window, all 4 windows, into this specific project and used everything as sort of a baseline. So the same glass, the same wall system, the same assembly. And what we learned is that the fiberglass and the vinyl both were relatively quite energy proficient, more so certainly than the aluminum or the wood clad. The wood clad window would require about 100 extra BTU per square foot per year to install, whereas the aluminum window would be not nearly as good performing. That would require 300 additional BTU per square foot per year. So that is, energy cost is actually not that expensive right now, but it's still a big 6-figure number on the sort of yearly annual cost of energy. So from a performance standpoint and from looking at initial cost, this window is quite good. And from a visibility standpoint, in terms of sight lines, it's quite narrow and we think it's appropriate. The other question I think was, Doug, I can talk a little bit about longevity, durability, performance of the window. This is not a typical builder grade vinyl window, which, I think one of the reasons that vinyl windows get such a bad rap is that for a long time, they were really not very good. And there's still a lot of not very good vinyl windows. This particular window is rated for commercial use. And so the wind loading, the air infiltration criteria meets what window that would be suitable for a commercial project, and up to 7 or 8 stories tall, not a typical single family window. We're using this kind of bronze color, which we think is, certainly sort of goes with the design, complements the design, is a lot better looking than a white vinyl product. And then we talked a little bit last time, but the thickness of the wall assembly actually allows those windows to be recessed 6 inches from the face of the brick. And so not only is it dark bronze, not only is the sight line quite small, it actually sits back is recessed within the wall cavity, and it's not that visible. And then lastly, I think from a setting a precedent standpoint, I understand that we don't want to set a precedent of approving subpar not very aesthetically pleasing vinyl windows within historic districts. I'm completely on board, but I think that this window and the specifics of this project make this particular window probably suitable. One is the quality of the vinyl. Not only is it commercially rated, it also has it's not a painted finish. It's not a shop painted finish. It's a series of laminations that are applied to the product that have the same warranty, actually the same finish warranty as the fiberglass windows. It adds strength and dimensionality to the window by having these integrated laminations. And that strength helps reduce some of the expansion and contraction that is sometimes typical of vinyl windows. The dark bronze color meets the design intent. The fact that it lives kind of within a recessed cavity within the window detailing. The scale of the building, the city, from a policy standpoint, the city has acknowledged a need for new housing. And I think that we need to be mindful that when we address that need for new housing and we're having buildings of scale to provide the housing, that there are cost implications that we have to be able to approve products that fit within the goals of the project and actually can be built. This particular window really isn't about saving dollars, though. It's about reallocating dollars for this project so that we can spend the money on the really high performance wall system and some of the other sustainability measures that we're really going for. We can choose where we want to spend the money and where we're able to spend the money to meet those goals. And then the last thing that I want to touch on is that really all of the ground level windows at the common space, the entry, everything that's cladding the amenity space. And so if you go back, Doug, to the one of the rendered images, everything that's at ground level within that darker field of brick, those are all aluminum windows. The vinyl is just used for kind of the punched openings at the residential units. And so it's sort of allocating again where we're putting the materials and the spots that make the most sense. So I think for those reasons, I feel like this window is probably suitable for this project.
Were there any more owner or applicant representatives that wanted to speak?
Not this afternoon. If the board has any more questions, we're happy to address those. We have Patrice Burke here available if necessary. Otherwise, we're ready to hear comment from the board or questions.
Are there questions?
Yeah, personally, I'm kind of okay with the windows. I'm concerned about the dark color and the fading though. You said it's actually a composite film, not just
It's a laminated surface on top of the vinyl.
And is that addressed in the warranty?
It is. That
Color stay?
That is what has the 10-year warranty. Color stay, UV degradation.
And for staff, the Auburn Avenue Historic District doesn't specifically reference vinyl windows. It references another. Can you?
Right, it doesn't
you
specifically prohibit vinyl windows by name, but it speaks to, compatibility of materials and
as a matter of standard with the other districts. Thank you.
I appreciate what you've done. This building is more aesthetically pleasing than the top rendering. So I do appreciate that you really took it seriously what we said and changed things. So thank you for that.
Yeah, this is quite an evolution from what we saw earlier.
Additional questions or comments? I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move to approve the zoning variances and the certificate of occupancy according to the notations staff has provided in your report.
Appropriateness,
I'm sorry,
certificate of appropriateness,
yes,
and with the conditions laid out by staff.
yes.
Second.
As for
I'm
clarification.
I'm overriding the vinyl, with the exception of the vinyl.
Okay, could you restate your motion, please?
So I move that we approve the variances for zoning relief, the conditional use, the dimensional variances, and the certificate of occupancy,
Appropriateness,
I'm sorry,
Appropriate.
certificate of
or
appropriateness.
appropriateness. Yeah, I could read that well. The certificate of appropriateness for
It's laid out like.
2443 Auburn
But not as laid out by staff.
with,
I thought staff was approving it.
Staff is approving it with the condition that the windows, the vinyl windows shall be changed to a window of wood, fiberglass, or other
with
material.
staff comments and report exclusory to the vinyl windows.
Are you are you including though the staff recommendation for parking lot landscaping?
Yes.
You think we got this?
Are there any questions about the motion from the applicant?
Yes.
What was the question?
Is the motion clear to the applicant and the board members?
I guess.
Sorry.
Okay, we've had so many lines here, I was a little confused. So what staff is recommending is we okay the zoning relief and we approve a certificate of appropriateness. But in that approval is that the vinyl windows shall be changed to a window of wood, fiberglass, or other appropriate material, right?
Correct.
Okay, so I was kind of under the impression,
Okay, so my motion is to approve the certificate of appropriateness, including as presented, and the parking lot landscaping, subject to approval by staff prior to permit.
But no,
I say it backwards?
Excluding, you have to exclude the window part of it.
do you want to allow the?
you want to allow the vinyl windows, or?
Yes.
Okay, then you want to strike the condition laid out by staff that the proposed windows shall be changed to a window of wood, fiberglass, or other material.
Yeah, I'm just approving the certificate of appropriateness in the parking lot. Their proposal does not, has vinyl windows in it.
Yeah,
I'm saying I'm
Correct.
approving that.
okay. Well, the
So it's our
part
understanding.
of it is that it must be changed to windows of wood.
No, that's the staff's report. That's not mine.
Otherwise, I
Yeah,
wouldn't.
but it's in that.
But that's, okay.
Yeah, it's
But
in the
let me
report.
make a motion.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve the zoning relief. The certificate of appropriateness with the exception that to strike section A.
Good with everyone? We know what we're,
Section A of the,
The certificate of appropriateness.
is there a second to that
Second.
motion?
Second.
Call the roll, Mr. Zalasko,
Aye, good luck, David.
Mr. Sunderman,
Aye.
Mr. Dobbins,
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
The chair votes no, but the item passes, so good luck.
Thanks.
As always, I'll.
There is mine.
Decision that will outline.
We got it, we got
You
it.
did a nice job on the exterior of
thank
the building.
Yeah, thanks, we're excited about it.
Okay, I believe that we still have staff approval from July. I know we got those today. Did everyone have a chance to review those? Are there any questions? Okay, if not, I will entertain a motion on July staff approvals.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the July 2024 staff.
Second.
Mr. Zlasko?
Aye.
Mr. Sunderman?
Aye.
Mr. Robbins?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any other business for today? Not, I will entertain a motion on adjournment.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
We got there.
Yeah, we got there.
It's not gonna get better.